See, they return. Ah, see the tentative movements, and the slow feet. The trouble in the pace and the uncertain wavering. See, they return, one and by one. With fear, as half awakened. As if the snow should hesitate. And murmur in the wind. And half turn back. These were the winged with awe. Inviolable gods of the winged shoe. With them the silver hounds. Sniffing the trace of air. Hey, hey. These were the swift to harry. These the keen-scented. These were the souls of blood. Slow on the leash. Pallid the leash men. The Return, by Ezra Pound is a 29-line, 5-stanza poem constructed from short lines of varying lengths. The poem was written in 1913 and then published in The New Poetry, an anthology in 1917. Pound has not chosen to structure this piece with a standard pattern of rhyme or rhythm. Instead, the lines flow in free verse, a way of writing that was still relatively new at the time during Pound's life. He is known as a pioneer of the form. The Return, by Ezra Pound describes the return of the gods who have weakened to an almost unrecognizable form through the ages. The poem begins with the speaker stating that they are returning. The gods are tentative in their steps as if they are unsure how to proceed. They sway and have trouble walking. It is immediately clear they do not have some strength they used to. This is only emphasized in the next lines as the speaker remembers what they, and their, silver hounds, used to be like. They had a strength that was unmatched and a ferocity to be feared. The Return concludes with the gods remaining in their pallid and sick form. In the speaker's eyes, they will never have the power they used to. The Return by Ezra Pound. Summary of the Return. The Return, by Ezra Pound describes the return of the gods who have weakened to an almost unrecognizable form through the ages. The poem begins with the speaker stating that they are returning. The gods are tentative in their steps as if they are unsure how to proceed. They sway and have trouble walking. It is immediately clear they do not have some strength they used to. This is only emphasized in the next lines as the speaker remembers what they, and their, silver hounds, used to be like. They had a strength that was unmatched and a ferocity to be feared. The Return concludes with the gods remaining in their pallid and sick form. In the speaker's eyes, they will never have the power they used to. In the first stanza of The Return, the speaker begins by noting, very casually, that they have returned. Without any prior details, this phrase is quite mysterious. It could apply to any range of beings. The following lines do not confirm or deny a reader's idea of what could possibly be occurring. Instead, lines 2 to 4 describe how beings move. They are tentative in their movements. These undetermined people move slowly as if unsure of their feet. The speaker says that they are having trouble creating a normal pace for their steps. Everything they try to do is uncertain. These lines give one the impression that the beings have been away for some period of time and come back to somewhere they used to know. They seem to have forgotten how to walk and function on what one may assume is Earth. The second stanza contains 7 lines and begins with the same 3-word phrase, see, they return. This fact of the situation is being emphasized as if the speaker wants to make sure the listener understands they not visiting for the first time. The following lines emphasize that there are many of them. They are coming, one and by one. Their actions are still not confident. The speaker observes them, as sees them as being filled with fear, and functioning in a half-awakened state. These notions are very human and easy for any reader to understand. One might not take note of this at first, but on second reading the human way these beings move is more significant. It is not until the next stanza that these beings are referred to as gods. They are much more than human, but in these moments they are suffering as any might who has not walked or faced the world for a long time. Next, the speaker utilizes the landscape to further express the way the gods feel. They were so tentative in their steps it is like they are worried the snow is going to hesitate in its judging of them. Rather than marveling at what should have been their power, it sees them and whispers about their weakness. Their inner lives, emotions, and most likely experiences, have rid them of the status they once had. They were once winged with awe, but no longer. The third stanza of The Return returns to the speaker's perspective and elaborates on the weakness that has overcome these once powerful beings. He states that they were once the gods of the winged shoe. This could refer to the gods of Greek and Roman mythology, specifically Hermes or Mercury. The following lines also support the idea that the gods are those of this specific mythology. In Greek mythology, there were dogs, Chrysios and Argyros, who were said to be made out of silver and gold. Whether this is the subject matter Pound meant to reference or not, these phrases do a lot to describe the presence the beings used to have. They moved through the world with the hounds sniffing the trace of air. Here the speaker begins with the word, hey. This word is unusual, meaning different things within different contexts. It can refer to a hedge, a physical obstacle, hurdle, or a fence of some kind. While Pound might have had this in mind, the word also acts as a simple exclamation. It could be used as a command for the dogs to heel and obey their masters. This is supported by the next lines, which are devoted to the way the dogs used to be. At one point they were swift to harry or fight with their enemies. They also used to be keen-scented and carriers of souls of blood. The animals were tough to their core. The final two lines of The Return summarize the change in the dogs and the gods who walk them. Here, the silver hounds are described as being slow on the leash. This would have been unimaginable in the past. Additionally, they are said to be walked by pallid leash men, a reference to the gods themselves. They are pallid, or weak, and sickly looking. There is nothing left of the strength there used to be. Pound is using this poem to speak on the nature of power. Even if it seemed inviolable, at one point, it can still wane. The text is acting as both a warning and allusion to the future. Those who read this in a position of power might consider the tenuous nature of their position. While on the other hand, those who are subjected to the power of God-like men will read it as uplifting. Another reading of this piece can cast the gods as a reference to the God of the Judeo-Christian religions. Pound was known for his dislike of organized religion and the control it had over everyday life. This piece also speaks to a longing for the removal of those who have for too long been in power. Source: https://poemanalysis.com/Ezra-pound/the-return/.